welcome back to the Limitless Stories podcast. Today we have the pleasure and honor to have the graduate from SFU, Osita, Vancouver's electrifying hype man on duty, a high energy MC, dancer, storyteller. He's rocked stages for the Canucks. He's done concerts with Burna Boy in the African Giant Tour, and he's traveled across Canada, man, festivals, you name it. And this is all fueled by his motto that you cannot teach energy. Osita lives a clean life. He's endlessly charismatic and a master of crowd connection. And Osita blends humor, authenticity, and non-stop movement for real to turn every event into an unforgettable experience. So with that being said, let's dive into the episode. Osita, my man, how you doing?
First of all, I gotta say, big up for that intro. You nailed everything there, man. Greg, man, it's good to see you. Good to chop it up with you. I'm alive.
Yes.
I'm well. You know, wherever there's life, there's hope. And yeah, I'm feeling good. It's a nice Tuesday to be talking to you.
Yes, Sirski. Pleasure for you taking this time to come in. I met you like I think in 2017, 20 around that time, but
Yes, 2017.
yeah, I used to see who's this little kid because I was like the older guy, so I was like, who's this little kid who's dancing? But outside of that, we're gonna take it back to the beginning. You know, you grew up in Nigeria and then you moved to Vancouver for uni, I'm assuming. My question to you to begin that journey is how did that cultural shift shape your perspective on community and entertainment? Because I'm assuming there's a way you grew up by relating to entertainment in Nigeria, and then when you move here you see a total different culture. So how did you merge those two worlds at the beginning?
Yeah, so I grew up mainly my whole upbringing was in like Nigeria, Lagos to be precise.
Mm-hmm.
And when I moved to Canada New Year's Day in 2016. I moved here for school, went to SFU just like you did.
Mm-hmm.
It was an interesting journey to get to Canada because after I was done high school, I took a 6 month gap and
Yeah.
I was trying to like figure out like what schools I wanted to be able to go to. I initially was supposed to go to UFM, University of Manitoba. I had a scholarship to play soccer there, but I turned it. A lot of people don't know that actually, but I didn't end up going because they told me how the weather was there and I was lucky scared. That's actually the truth. So I turned down a part scholarship to play on the soccer team there and I just didn't go through with it because when they told me it was like negative 20, 30 something, and I'm
Yeah.
coming from Nigeria where it's like plus 29, plus 35. I was like, no, God
Hell
forbid.
no.
So yeah, it was a no-brainer to come to BC and then SFU. But you asked about entertainment. So I was never like somebody who wanted to make music or really be an entertainer when I was back home in Nigeria. I had
Mm-hmm.
a bit of a dance background just from dancing like, high school dance club, whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I never had any inkling that I was gonna be like an MC or a hype man or a host or anything like that. But I always used to be somebody who you would find dancing at all the functions. Like when I would go with my mom or my grandma, I'll be dancing. People will spray you money. That's a Nigerian thing. Kids
Okay.
dancing at wedding, there's dancing competitions. So I used to like be interested in that. So I think that's where I got my vibe for dance and entertaining.
In
Yeah,
general. Okay, so there's a
in general.
connection
Yeah.
between your upbringing and the what you're doing right now. Because essentially, sometimes when you look at someone and when you don't know the full picture or the full story, you kind of assume that this is
Yeah.
just something that they started, but then it ties back to back home, which is dope, which is really dope. So,
Yeah,
we're
man.
gonna segue into the mindfulness aspect of the conversation, and I think your motto is you can't teach energy. But my curiosity comes in like, how do you mindfully cultivate that energy on days that you don't feel like it, like you're exhausted? Do you have any pre-show rituals to stay present, and how do you do that?
Yeah, man. That's a very impactful question. When it comes to being mindful,
Mm-hmm.
I have to also be self-aware and know that there's gonna be some days where I have a set or I have a gig somewhere that I'm not feeling like 100% like jumpy like. So there are things that I
Right.
do to kind of get myself in the mood for that. I have like three different types of playlists that I play before. Music usually helps me lift me up and bring my spirits up.
Mm-hmm.
Drink an energy drink. I also meditate. A lot of people don't know I meditate. It's kind of It's not a lot of
That's
people
nice.
can say that they do. I do a little bit of meditation. It's just like with an app on my phone, but like
What
10
which app do you
minutes.
use?
It's called I actually need to have a look. It's called Chrome Meditate. So it's like
Okay.
they have like a way. It just kind of you just listen to a bunch of the recordings, kind
Mm,
of deep breaths, all that kind of stuff. I do the same thing over and over again, so I kind of I'm used to it.
right.
I pride myself in my work, especially when it comes to performing. So I always want to make sure that giving my best, whether I'm really in the mood for it or not. I have to make sure that people are coming in, they're having a good time, they're paying, so they have to feel a good vibe in the
Right.
club. So yeah, I have to always make sure I'm on that energetic vibe for real.
Right. And just as a follow-up question, you mentioned that when did you incorporate this meditation and when did you notice that this is a tool that actually helps you to perform better?
Dude, it was in the pandemic, man. We had so much free time. Before then, I never believed on meditating. One day, I just checked it out. I was watching some videos on YouTube and how people were talking about it, and I learned a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I tried it. 21 was the first time that I actually tried it, and then I was a bit more consistent with it during the pandemic. Once work picked up and we kind of got out of the pandemic, I made it like an once in a while thing, and then I found this
Right.
app that helped me kind of like stay on top of it. I'm like, but there are times where like I forget and like it's part of life. But I
Yeah.
try to remain consistent when it's time for my like gigs. I try to do it like before each gig.
That's what's up. I think mindfulness is such a huge thing in terms of like locking in. People train the
Yeah, man.
muscles, but they don't train the mind. And the mind is a muscle in itself, right? So you have to repetitively do the reps to be able to build a stronger mental muscle.
Yeah, and taking deep breaths, like breathing exercises help too. Sometimes the app, it's like breathe in and out 15 times. You might think to yourself, what's it really gonna do? The African and also been like, how
What
will
the
this
hell?
actually help me? Yeah, exactly. But then you do it and then you feel lighter, I feel a little more energetic, I feel calmer before I go into that club vibe. And yeah, it actually really helps. I was one of those people that wasn't sure about how it would be. I'm just trying to stay a little bit consistent with it.
That's what's up. I'm happy for you and I love that. I love that. I didn't even
Thank
know
you.
that about you. There's something I want to double tap. You mentioned the pandemic and how that impacted work and your ability to do things. You had so much free time. What are some of the challenges that you as Osita went through, knowing that you have a hype background, you love energy, you love being around people? How did that period challenge you and make you grow?
It's definitely someone who was really trying to be on a little bit of a come up in 2020 in the entertainment industry. I hosted Davido's concert at the Commodore on March 1st, 2020. 7 days later, first lockdown was announced.
Damn.
And it was literally 7 days after one of my favorite moments in my life because Davido is my favorite artist, and I was able to
Right.
host a show, and it was an amazing experience. I met him.
Congrats.
Thanks, man. I initially thought it was gonna be like a couple of months. Like everyone else thought it was gonna be like, okay, we'll be outside in a couple of months. But at the end
Hmm.
of the day, what happened was that like we were in the pandemic for like almost 2 years. And it really presented a lot of challenges because I wasn't able to actually MC. I wasn't able to get out there and do what I love to do. Couldn't really see people. It was good and bad because it was the time that I was able to learn how to video edit. It was during the pandemic. So I took a little course online to learn how to video edit. I was able to start making some dance content, and then I started editing soccer highlight videos. My friends who play soccer like Alphonso Davies,
Hmm.
Thelonious Bear, who used to play for the Whitecaps, two or three
Hmm.
more MLS players. So I was commissioned to do some gigs, some videos for them, and it got me to learn how to be better and made a bit of money doing that for a bit. The pandemic was mixed with good and
A
bad.
blessing in disguise. Like,
It was a blessing in disguise because now I'm able to edit videos for myself, especially for my content on my Instagram page.
right.
I use Final Cut Pro. I'm sure you're familiar with that. And
Yeah.
I don't have to pay a videographer that's going to take 3 weeks and not execute it to the same vision
Same
that I
craft
want.
that you've learned. Right. Right.
Exactly, exactly. So
That's
that's why,
actually, that's really dope. That's really dope.
yeah, man. Thanks, man.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
skill
really
that I
dope.
think
Because
everyone
Final
should
Cut
have.
is not easy to learn. Like, it's one of those.
Oh, bro, I
It's
took a course. There was like a course online that I took. It was during the pandemic. It was I just signed up, took it, then I watched a lot of YouTube videos, got better. Then fast forward, I edit my own stuff myself.
Hype Man Productions, you know.
You know the
We
vibe.
seen you. That's a good segue into the fitness aspect of your craft.
Yeah,
You're hyping for hours, and that's an athletic ability that not everyone can do. How do you
yeah.
train your body to recover so that you can avoid burnout, especially if you have back-to-back gigs?
So the key to all of this is very simple. It's sleep and sleep, rest. Honestly, if you really think about it, man, like
No, dead
I don't
ass.
have. It's really simple. Like if I don't have anything to do the next day, let's say I have a gig on a Saturday night, let's say like I had one at Cabana the other day, last weekend. It was a very
Yeah,
successful event. It
I
was lit.
saw you.
I saw you too. I saw you too, man. But thanks for coming, though, man.
You did
It was a
not
lit, it
see
was a
me. You
great.
did not see me. That is not part of the brand. You did not see me, bro.
Mr. Limitless Stories.
Hey, listen. The stories you're
That's a
saying
story
right
for
now are
another
not.
day.
Yeah.
But to be honest, man, like if I have nothing to do the next day, I'll just recover with enough sleep. Um, I drink purely water and pop at my gigs or juice. I try to stay hydrated while I'm emceeing to help my voice because I'm on the mic constantly.
Right.
There's a little recipe that I got from my grandma. You have watermelon, then you put a little bit of honey on it, and it helps get your voice back, especially when you've been talking for a long time or yelling. If you go to a concert, you're screaming the lyrics, your voice is gone. That's technically
Yeah.
me every night at the club because I'm on the mic and it's tiring, it tires out the voice and you have to be able to get your voice back. So I use that.
How do you feel like sobriety has helped you in terms of your energy levels when you're performing and when you're doing back-to-back gigs? Or how do you feel like sobriety incorporates into this?
I think it's very unique, especially in this part of the world, to have lived sober. I took it upon myself just to make that choice before coming to Canada. I wanted to I wanted to be a footballer, a soccer player at one point in my life. So I think that's one of the steps that I was trying to take. And my dad, like he drinks a lot, or he used to drink a lot. I saw that and I didn't want that for myself. So at a young age I was like, you know what, I'm just not gonna do it. Sobriety is very important. It's a very important part of my brand. One of the reasons why I started being an MC and a hype man was to show people that you don't need to drink to have a good time. That was
Wow.
literally it. So if you
Wow.
really think about it, I've already kind of accomplished my first original goal of what I'm doing, to
Right.
show people you don't need to drink to have a good time. Because when I first came here, I used to see
Right.
people on the dance floor, they'll just be quiet, and I wonder why people will say, I'm too sober for this. I need a drink. And I was always wondering why that was the case, especially first coming from Nigeria, right? There are people who dance way more than me and they don't drink any alcohol. They're happy. So it's a big part of my brand. It's a big part of who I am as a person. And I feel like that's what fuels my energy. I have this belief that if I drink, feel like it's gonna change me. It's like
But I want to say, first and foremost, thank you for being a brand ambassador of sobriety, because I try to tell people, try live life a sober way, because most of us started drinking probably in high school, especially us from
yeah,
Africa, right? So
yeah,
for a good chunk of our days, we don't know what life is without alcohol. And it starts off as, oh, I only drink on the weekends, but the amount that you drink on the weekends is equivalent to an alcoholic drinking a drink every day,
yes, yes,
right? So it's like, when I've had a fair share of a partial sobriety, which really opened my eyes to the point where I'm now able to do stuff like this, because I've had my fair share of battles with that specific thing, to a point where now I don't even have it at my house. I don't like, it's just something that
yeah.
I'm not really attached to. So for you to not even do that in that environment and to never be tempted, bruh, that's insane.
Yeah, yeah, man. It comes down to discipline and self-awareness. I think a lot of people also think that because I don't drink that I'm against alcohol. I'm not in any way against people drinking around me. I work at a club, I work at different clubs, events. There's liquor always around me. There's liquor in the DJ
Right.
booth, there's liquor on the dance floor, there's liquor on the floor, literally. There's liquor by the bar. So I'm always around liquor. I just choose not to do it because I've always loved standing out, and I feel like this is one of the ways that I can stand out. I can show other brands that want to work with me like, hey man, I will 100% be active, present in my performance, and I don't want to be sloppy. So that's also one of the reasons why I don't drink. I've seen the way some other MCs, in that do their own thing, they drink and then it kind of like switches up how
They
they
relate to
they
the
handle the
crowd.
crowd. They
Yeah.
relate to the crowd, right? I want my relationship to the crowd to be 100% fluid and organic. And honestly, it just all comes down to discipline. And I've done it for so long that I don't
It's
feel
not at the
like it's
back of your
even
mind.
it's not even, yeah, exactly. When I
Right.
first came to Canada, there was a lot of peer pressure. I used to go to a lot of townhouse parties at SFU, hosted by athletes. There's a lot of drinking involved, and there was a lot of times people would shame me. Honestly, bro, like it's a part of my life that I was like, well,
How did you
I feel
handle
like
that?
I'm very thick-skinned. I think it just came down to like, honestly, I don't want to do it because I don't want to do it, and I don't want to do something just because other people are doing it. I don't like to follow the crowd because standing out is just important to me. I used to get so many questions like, is it a religious thing, or are you just a pussy, or excuse my language, but like, yeah, like, honestly, man.
At
And
first, at first, when I heard about it, because like when I first met you, I was like, "Yo, this guy
yeah,
got mad energy. He on coke or what? Like
yeah, he on
this is
something.
different. Like, bro, I used to be
Yeah,
hyped
man.
back in my day. I was like, bro, this is different. Like, what the hell? And then I heard that
Okay.
he's actually sober. I was like, wait, what? Like,
Yeah, you know
there is
what?
no
You know what's
way.
funny, Greg?
Like,
You know what's funny? A lot of people actually hear that I don't drink before I even tell them. So you know what's funny? When I let people know, oh, a fun fact about me, oh, you don't drink, right? I'm like, how do you know? I'm like, wow, I like that kind of
that's
aspect as well.
good. That's
Yeah, a
good.
lot of people also don't. Some people don't believe. Some people think it's just like a thing I say,
Mm,
and it's
right.
like, cause how can you be like this, and how can you work at a club, and how can you be always in the club on the weekends and not just? So some people, it doesn't make sense, and I also understand that it doesn't click, right. And for the longest time, when I would tell people, they wouldn't believe. So I'd be like, yo, maybe like someone like a good friend of mine, DJ Vinny, if he's beside me, I'm like, yo, Vinny, do I drink alcohol? And then he will tell them like, this guy, he's crazy on his own. He doesn't drink. And so it's like, yeah, like, yeah, it kind of throws me under the bus. But it's good. It's good to know that people know that about me, and I think that's what I wanted to achieve first before anything. So
Right.
yeah, I'm happy with that.
I'm proud of you, bro. Kudos, and so
Thank you.
happy that your brand has organically evolved around your original goal that was to always show people that you can have fun without drinking. I love
Yeah,
that, and I'm gonna take that away from this conversation. Hella respect for that, because it
thank
started
you.
off from a personal standpoint from your dad, and then it boiled down to like you trying to show other people, and the brand evolved by
Yeah,
itself. That's what God does when you're really pure with your intentions, right?
for real, man.
We're
I
gonna
appreciate that,
transition
man.
to Hype Man Productions. You went from dancing at SFU, the townhouses, and now you're hyping for the Canucks. You know what I'm saying? So that's a journey by itself. But my curiosity comes from, what was the turning point where you thought, you know what, this could actually be my business? When did that switch flip?
Very good question. I used to just do this for fun. I just used to go to events, and like everyone else on the weekend, but I'll make it a thing to go out there and dance my
There's
ass
no
off
tomorrow.
and party. Yeah, back then I wasn't really like on the mic as such, but what made me kind of monetize it, or kind of like say, you know what, I could actually brand myself a little bit better, start, looking at ways to kind of monetize this on another level. It was in 2019. So it was 1 year before the pandemic. Remember in the beginning of the conversation when I said it was kind of 2020 March when we started the pandemic, that was a really kind of like crucial time, because that was
Right.
just like only like 1 year after I really started kind of trying to monetize appearing as an MC, as a host, dancer, on stages and stuff like that. Because initially I just did it for fun, because I used to tell people. I'm not, I used to tell people I don't care about getting paid. Like, I just want to have fun and see people have fun, have a good time. Very innocent minded, young SFU, you
Listen,
know.
those bills were not due yet. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
Those bills
yeah,
were not due yet.
exactly. So I would kind of like, I would not I'll just ask for opportunities to do what I do. I'll just ask like, oh, let me come to this party, let me go on the mic, and then like I'll just kind of test myself, get better. And then people started to see me. Then I saw I got a little bit more traction. I was shooting dance videos, posting them. People started to recognize me because of the cloud goggles I used to wear. There was this kind of like colored goggles I used to wear when I used to go to Fortune. So people always used to remember I used to wear a bandana. And it was kind of like a gimmick. So like I'd wear a bandana and the cloud goggles and like a matching soccer jersey. So I noticed that people started to gravitate towards what I did, and they thought I was getting paid to come on the dance floor and dance. I was like, oh no, man, I'm just performing for y'all. I'm performing for myself and kind of building my name, essentially, kind of, quote unquote. But I was working as a promoter from like 2018, starting like from like 2017, 2018, 2019. So I was like putting people on guest lists, making, little money here and there. But I was not paid for any kind of performing. Like when I was working at Fortune, all I'll just stand on the side of the stage dancing. And yeah, it was after the pandemic that, or like just before the pandemic, that I was like, you know what? Let me start charging for being an MC. I had done it once or twice, but it wasn't anything. It wasn't anything before 2019. I was like, you know what? I can actually do this. Especially after I got I was contracted to work as the mascot for the BC Lions. That's when everything kind of like started.
I was about to ask you,
Yeah,
what was that first gig that, okay, yeah, there's money to be made.
yeah. I have to say it definitely was when I got a contract with the BC Lions to work as the mascot for the 2019 season. That was a time I was in my third year of uni when that happened. And when it happened, it was because I was also the SFU mascot. So one of their representatives reached out to my boss at SFU. They're like, "Oh, we saw you guys have a mascot. We're looking for someone who might be interested in the role." So they contacted me. I set up an interview. I went there. I auditioned. Kind of, they liked my vibe, and they. At first, I thought they weren't going to call me back. I thought it was just like, okay, it's maybe they have other people, and then they reached out again and said they'd like to see me, and then they offered me the contract. And that was when I knew, like, okay, I have to use this to kind of like further my,
Your brand.
my stance, yeah, in my brand.
Yeah.
But even though I was under a suit and I was performing, that was like basically my first major, performance gig. I was performing at BC Place, with the Lions cheerleaders. I did a couple of dance performances with them. I was running around the stadium, hyping people up. I was literally doing what I love to do, but in a suit.
In a bigger
And
scale too.
I was getting paid really good. I remember when I first got my first check. I think the after the second check that I went to I went to Off White and I bought an Off White. I was just, it was just, when you're young and you're just silly. Like I was kind of like, wow, like I'm still in uni. I'm kind of working like one one game every like 2 3 weeks. Making pretty good money for someone who's in a
In
university
third year
student
uni,
in
right?
third year. And like
Like,
and then Alphonso Davies was like, yeah, I'm still in Vancouver and stuff. We used to hang out and talk and everything. So I used to see him, used to rock his designer. So I was like, let me just get my own off white. So I bought an off white belt, you know,
hey,
bought
listen,
one off white
listen,
bag.
listen. Sometimes you gotta drip. You gotta drip and
Yes,
treat yourself.
yeah. And now that I think about it, I go back in time, I probably shouldn't have really done that. But hey, man, you're
Hey,
young,
you live and you
you're
learn.
excited. You
You
live and
live
you
and you
learn, man.
learn, bro. You
That's
live
the
and you
truth.
learn.
That's the truth,
Yeah,
man.
you
Well,
live
that's the
and you
big gig
learn.
I had. That's the first big gig that I had,
That's
and
what's up.
it kind of took off because people started to recognize me, even though because I had posted about it, so people started reaching out. Oh, like, would you like? I actually started getting one or two paid appearances at Fortune, and then some other clubs reached out to me, and then I think that same year I hosted fall kickoff at SFE fall kickoff.
Oh,
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, so there was a lot of opportunities that came with that, and that's also what got me into working with the Canucks as well. Because I think we'll get to that, I guess.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So like, I think my biggest thing is like, once you transition to getting paid by like an organization like BC Lions, right? And then eventually it goes to the Canucks. Like, what are some of the challenges that you're facing as your status is changing in real time? You're a kid, you're navigating school, you're navigating building your
Yeah.
own company. Like, what sort of challenges do you face when you're running Hype Man Productions in this phase of that, journey?
So at that time in 2019, that was a very. I think 2019 was probably my hardest year in terms of school. Because
Mm.
third year is probably. I think third year for me was I don't know, but you did econ as well. I don't know if third year.
Yeah,
What was your
that there
hardest
that yeah,
that third year? Because we had a lot of like there was a lot of like upper level requirements that needed to be
yeah.
done to like cement your
Your
econ degree.
status, yeah.
Yes, yeah, and like I remember like Buick, Buick 232. Some of those tough classes.
Man, listen. I'm not
That's the
ashamed to say
truth.
I ran it back twice. I ran it back one time. Buick
Yeah, I mean,
232.
it
I
was.
ran it
Trust
back.
me, that was. Yeah, trust me, man. That was like that was hell, man. That
Mm-hmm.
that third year, especially when I knew that I was gonna be doing those appearances with the Lions. Luckily, there was only 10 or 11 in the whole like year because they only have 10 home games, and I think I did one community appearance, and it was
Right.
scattered like one. It was basically like twice a month, once a month kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a big crazy commitment, so that was what actually helped me. Because if it was
Mm.
more of like a full-time thing or like 2 3 times a week kind of thing, I wouldn't have coped. It would have been a little
Right.
bit harder. But back then in 2019, it was still more of like posting dance content, a little bit of emceeing here and there. I hadn't
Okay.
really kind of grown my brand to the point where it is now, where I'm not just emceeing events, also being a hype man at clubs. I also do weddings and private gigs now.
Nice.
I also do a little bit of poster design and graphic work for some of the clients I work with to make extra money, because there can never be enough money to be made in
That
Vancouver.
man a
It's
hustler.
it's
That man a
expensive. Yeah,
hustler.
yeah. 2019 was, I would say, definitely was a turning point, but I didn't start with the Canucks until 2021, because 2020 was pandemic, and 2021 was kind of like when we yeah.
Yeah, that's that, bro. The journey is actually so amazing because like you can see the transition of growth as you age, as you grow as a brand. So it's like you've
Yeah.
kind of maintained a very level-headed approach in terms of like your main goal, like your big picture goal, where it's like I want to accomplish it and you go for it. And you said now you're doing private event, corporate events. That's a
Yeah.
different dimension. What's the difference between hosting a Canucks game and doing like a corporate event? Like, is it the same type of vibe, same type of energy?
So for the Canucks, right? Like I work on the hype team, so we kind of like are a team of like, probably like 10 or 15 of us scattered around the arena. We kind of like, so it's like it's a little bit
I've
of like
seen
we
you.
start,
I've
yeah.
seen
So
you.
we're on the big screen. We're getting people to make noise. We're throwing t-shirts into the crowd. We're waving
Right.
flags when we score. It's a very fun gig. I've been doing it for, this is my fourth season with the Canucks. Thanks to God.
Congrats.
Yeah, thanks, man. The difference between that and like, let's say a private gig or a corporate gig, like I just had a gig on Saturday. It was for the BC Community Alliance, which is like a black-owned non-for-profit organization that helps,
Hmm.
students learn a little bit about business and how to, basically how to mature, in Vancouver, and how to like think of business ideas that you can, basically start now and grow later, high school students. So I got a chance to kind of like work with that organization on the weekend. I spoke, I hosted the event. It's just a combination of kind of like entertaining the crowd, you know, making announcements here and there, introducing speakers.
Hmm.
I've always loved public speaking. I think one of the reasons why, it might be a very funny or corny reason, but I'm a
Yeah.
big wrestling fan. And
Yeah, we
wrestlers like
know.
it's
We
all,
know.
yeah, a lot. I'm a big WWE fan, to be precise. So it's like I
Yeah.
used to watch like my favorite wrestlers like talk on the mic with confidence in front of like, tens of thousands of people, like people like John Cena, like The Rock, people with charisma. I think that's where I kind of get a little bit of my charisma, that over the top, kind of like goofy but still charismatic vibe. It's from watching
Right.
wrestling, and it's from kind of like, I think that's where I get that from, to be very honest.
That's actually such
Does
a
that make sense? It
key.
kind of aligns,
Yes.
right?
No, that is
A lot of
such
people
a
don't know.
key. Bro, that is actually makes sense because when you think about it, when we were watching wrestling as kids,
Yeah,
the first thing you notice is the person in the middle of the ring commands the room or the arena,
the room. Yeah,
right? So it's like
exactly.
when you're there with the mic in your hand and you're saying, "Do you smell what the rock?"
The
At
Rock
the crib,
is
you're
cooking.
shouting.
Yeah,
You're doing
yeah,
the same thing. So it's pretty much like he's emceeing through the screen and you're just going off his vibe, right?
exactly,
Which
man.
makes a lot
Yeah.
of sense. That's diabolical, bro. Like
You see,
what?
yeah, man. I think that's what gives me a little bit of confidence. Seeing people who look like me, who are obviously on TV and everything. I think that just
Mm-hmm.
gives me the idea. Like I want to be able to do that. I want it to be able to address people with confidence, with that kind of charisma, that kind of vibe that people are gonna like, damn, who is this guy? So they remember me for next time. So yeah, man, I love being on the mic. I love entertaining people in whatever capacity, whether it means me throwing on a mascot costume, me on the mic at a club, me hosting somebody's birthday party, me, in any way, shape, or form, even if I'm not on the mic, just dancing alone.
Entertainment is the underlying
Yes,
theme, right?
I'm trying to be more of an entertainer, and hopefully my next project is seeing how I can incorporate mascotting in like a club setting. In Nigeria, there's this thing that at clubs, there's usually
Mm-hmm.
somebody dressed in like a little bit of a costume, like maybe like a Super Mario or like a gorilla. Like I don't know if you've seen
Right.
those videos on TikTok of like someone at a
Right.
club. You're like when they're bringing out bottle service, you see someone like dressed in a
Yeah.
costume, or
Yeah.
I want to be able to one day like basically have an ability to play that role in a club, something different, so that
Mm.
I won't be shown. Obviously, I'll be covered, but then some people who know the vibe know it's me.
They'll know. When you
Yeah, I don't even dance like that anymore. These days it's just all Afro beats, man. That's a different era, man.
Yeah, bro.
That's a
But bro,
different
let me
era,
tell you, I'm stuck with hit them folks for life. That shit, bro. You can never go
bro.
wrong
That
with. There
era,
was one time your logo
yeah,
was actually the folks. Like,
bro. You know what's funny? That is
yeah,
That's me, bro. That's the
that's what
logo.
I'm
So that
saying.
logo that I
That's
have, yeah. So that logo that I have, that you've seen, my old retro logo, that's a
yeah.
silhouette of that picture I just showed you. That's actually me. Yeah.
Damn.
So the logo is actually me, and one of my good friends was able to make the logo for me, and yeah, I still use it, but I have a different logo now. But yeah,
Okay. Growth,
we
growth.
leveled up a little bit.
Yes, sir, Ski. Come on now, the paper talking. I'm gonna ask you a little bit about what like you've done, bro. Like you've hosted or emceed for like big artists like Burna Boy, Davido, Oxlade, you name it, bro. Like I've seen you on posters with
Odumodu
all the
Black,
bro, Dimo Black.
Adekunle Gold,
Bro, I'm
Saint
tired.
John,
I'm tired. Like what? How do
Thames.
you, bro? Woo.
Yeah,
Okay.
opening set.
Yo, bro, how do you feel like you got to this point and how do you nurture that relationship when you meet this artist? How does that, because you're just at the end of the day you're just Osita from, Lagos. And then you
Nigeria,
get to
yeah,
this
Lagos,
point
yeah.
where you like meeting this big time artists who some of them are from your country, some of them are not. How do you nurture those relationships to make sure that they also appreciate your skill and your value that you bring to their shows?
That's a good question. There are times where I actually don't meet these artists because I'm usually stuck with stage responsibilities, performing out there and stuff. But whenever I do, I try to remain professional. I try not to act like too much of a fanboy because at the end of the day, it's business. It's work for them. It's work for me.
It's work for you.
So I connect more with their like the management or people who they have in 2019. I think when I was in the group, same room with Burna Boy and everything. This is before he got way bigger and everything. I wasn't able to talk to him, but I talked to his mom who's his manager, and I had a little bit of a rapport with her. I let her know I'm the one emceeing the show. Check out what I'm doing on the stage. I'm getting the crowd hyped up for your son. I hope you guys have a good time in Vancouver. I was just being very welcoming. And then she came out and she
Right.
saw what I was doing. And then I told her that I was also a dancer. And she's like, "Oh, you dance?" And then I was like, "Yes." And I even showed her a video that I did to one of Burna Boy's songs, dance video. She gave me the go ahead to jump on stage with him. So there's, if you like people who were at the show, there was like a quick 1 minute part when he was performing Killing Them, which is the song that I did a little dance video to.
I
And I
remember.
got on stage.
I remember.
I just ran, I literally ran into the middle of the stage. And Burna Boy, first of all, he looked at me, and then I started dancing, and then he looked like he was about to walk away. But when I increased the energy a little bit, I just started, I was like, I hope this guy doesn't ignore me. In my head, I was just like, that would be so awkward.
Yo.
But at the end of the day, he ended up dancing, and we ended up doing the same dance at the end. The kick,
Yeah.
it was a surreal moment, and fast forward to now, he's a Grammy winner, multiple time Grammy nominated artist, and I was able to actually host his event
Do you
twice.
do you know how crazy that is? My boy said I doubled down on that bitch.
I did
Not
it in
once.
2022, and in 2022 I ran it back. It was at the PNE outdoor show. Was good. I had a very short set time because there was multiple people. So I did about like
I
a
was
40.
there.
Yeah, I did a very early on kind of thing. I hyped for a little bit. I introduced one of the artists, Jap, and then we kind of like went off the stage. But so some people caught it, some people didn't. But the other one, I was on stage pretty much the
Everyone
whole.
caught.
Yeah.
Did the relationship that you built that time influence you performing it the second time? Like, you know how you
No,
spoke to the mom, or this was like a separate thing?
this was completely different. No, it doesn't
Okay.
usually. So usually how it works is that like these artists, right? You have to understand they're on tour, right? They see so many different opening acts. They see they're in so many different cities, dealing with different promoters and stuff. So
Right.
at the end of the day, they most likely won't unless they're like as someone as big as Burner. It's gonna be very hard for him to remember that moment that we shared on that stage. It's probably gonna
Yeah.
be close to impossible. Probably possible, but like you have to probably remind him, retrace his steps. 2019 is, remember, 6 years ago, but it wasn't me emceeing in 2022 for that show. It was I was just booked separately. It wasn't through his management or anything. Just
Oh, okay.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
okay. That's nice. Let's talk about a little bit about your soccer love for soccer. You know, you played soccer a lot growing up, and you got a good friend from Vancouver. I think he was born in Edmonton, but I don't know. Mr. Fonzie.
He was born in Ghana, but he moved to Canada, and then he like lived in Edmonton. So that's where he was kind of raised.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
talk
But
to
yeah,
us about
AD.
how you met AD and how you guys have a close relationship, and just tell us a little bit about you know celebs, huh? Hey, Jesus.
Yeah, man. So funny enough, I actually met him. I met him at Faded in the Park in random at 20 in I think that should have been 2018. Yeah, he was with a bunch of my mutual friends that I had seen. A bunch of guys that I knew that lived in Coquitlam. So I saw him there, and then I was like, "Bro, I know you." It's like, "Oh, he actually knew of me through
Mm,
like probably seeing content and stuff like that."
right.
And then we just kind of like stayed in touch and like followed each other on Instagram. And then I found out that he lived in Burnaby and he was playing on the Wildcats at that time. He hadn't really broken into the first team at that time, or I think he was just breaking into the first team. So
Right.
he wasn't as big of a deal as he is now. So it was all good, man. We used to hang out quite frequently. He would come to SFU. One time he came and he played soccer with us on Sunday. I brought him to SFU and he played soccer with like
Nice.
a bunch of rest of the like our soccer group we had. He ended up playing on Sunday, but yeah, the relationship is still pretty good. I talk to him like every once in a while. He's a busy man now, big time
Buying
Premier.
things in
Uh,
it.
cha- yeah, man, playing for Bayern Munich. So he's actually injured right now, so he's just kind of
Yeah.
like recovering. But
Prayers
I'm
up to
sure
it.
he's doing well. Yeah,
Yeah.
every time he's in Vancouver, we link up. That's the thing, though. But
That's what's up.
yeah, man's big time now. Osita is in the small league compared to.
Nah. You gonna form your own lane. I always tell people like just formulate your own lane, bro. You gonna be big time in your own
Yeah,
way. Like you can't compare his journey to yours, right? So at the end of the day, it's
yeah,
all
of
love.
course.
It's all love. When you go tour city to cities, I wanna talk a little bit about like the relationship between these cities and how you see different energy levels in different cities. What have you learned from when you MC like in Vancouver nightclubs and then you go to like Toronto or Calgary? What's the difference? Like, what do you pick up that can be different?
I was waiting for this question. Very good question, man. What I noticed is that when I MC in a different city, it's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
planting your flag somewhere or leaving your logo somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like going to a different spot,
Mm-hmm.
planting your flag. It's like an accomplishment for me. So I always take a lot of pride in performing out of city. People who know me know that Calgary is my favorite city in Canada. Not just to perform in, but the time I've spent there has always been worthwhile. I have some good friends out there, good promoter friends, and just friends in general. It's a different vibe anywhere I go. Like I haven't been able to. I've emceed in Toronto only one time. It was for
Mm-hmm.
Davido's after party, so it was packed that night. But what I can say is that like Calgary, the black community there is so welcoming. They're way more
Mm.
than the black community in Vancouver. So when
Oh,
they
is
come out
it?
in, yeah, they come out in bunches. Like they come out and they are ready to dance. There's a lot of dancers out there compared
Mm.
to here. So if you see the vibe on the dance floor in Calgary, it's
Mm-hmm.
completely different from the vibe on the dance floor in Vancouver.
Mm.
So especially for like Afrobeats events, there's a big Afrobeat scene in Calgary. I know in Toronto as well, but I haven't emceed as much there. But places like Calgary is completely different from another city like Nanaimo or
Mm-hmm.
Victoria. Those cities on the
Mm-hmm.
island, they barely have an Afrobeat crowd. There's barely a black crowd there at all. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say I do an Afrobeat event in Nanaimo. It's more of a multicultural dance floor. It's just a little bit of a different vibe. It's a small town. Everyone knows everyone. But those small cities are the ones that bring a lot of energy because they don't really have those big events per se. So whenever
Right.
I go out there, I'm I'm kind of like sometimes like people end up wanting to take pictures of me at the end of the day. I'm not really a celebrity, man. Like I'm not. I mean, those, especially in Nanaimo, right? Nanaimo is like a small
Right.
city, so
Right.
it's like they think I'm some kind of MC. I'm just here for my check, man.
I think it's perspective, bro. Because it might not come from a place of like maybe they see it as celebrity, but I think that's giving you your flowers. It's like
I
sometimes
guess, yeah,
that perspective is important because if I go out and I'm not typically used to seeing this guy who's really just high on energy and he's making me
yeah.
have a good time, I'm feeding off his energy. It's like having a teammate that is really good and is giving you assists the whole time. It's like, bro, I fuck with you.
Ah,
Like I fuck with you because you're making me better. You're making my experience better. So it's like at the end of the day, I'm gonna give you your flowers just because you made my night better. Sometimes it's not even because of like we tend to focus so much on what we got going on, but I realize that sometimes people also have their own shit going on that we have to acknowledge,
that's
right?
true. I actually didn't think about it like that. You just gave me a whole different perspective on how
Mm-hmm.
to view things like that,
Mm.
and I actually appreciate that because I guess it is in a way kind of like giving me my flowers. I mean, I don't
Right.
I really I try to like avoid thinking about stuff like that. I don't know. It just kind of it's a bad habit. Like not
Does it
wanting
make
to
you
like give
uncomfortable
yourself credit.
getting, yeah, does it make you uncomfortable?
Not really uncomfortable. I just think my mentality is like nobody cares, just work harder. Like if I have a very successful concert that I do and people are like oh wow, and I post a recap and people are like damn you did so good, I'll take it. But then in my head I'm like okay, what am I doing now? Like what's next? That's the hunger to just continue keeping that momentum. I don't really actually celebrate those wins properly. And I think it's probably it's a little bit of a bad habit.
It's
Yeah,
important because two things can be
yeah,
true. You can want more, but you can also honor the fact that your journey has brought you here. They don't
that's
have to be
true.
two separate things, right? So I think that's a way maybe you could look at it, and I'm glad that you've seen this perspective to the T, and hopefully you incorporate it into your routine moving forward. I think one of the other things that I wanted to ask you is, what's the one thing you could teach new MCs about reading the crowd, and what kind of non-negotiable rule do you have when you're doing this line of work? Just a word of advice to the up and coming MCs that maybe have seen you and get inspired. You know what I mean? You don't know who you're inspiring from the next generation. So I think part of life is leaving a legacy in whatever craft that we do. So how do you feel like you can inspire the next generation in MCing?
That's a very very big question. I've actually been told I've kind of like inspired someone who actually started emceeing. I think he's in Kamloops. We kind
Mm-hmm.
of chopped it up, and he's like, yeah, he's seen what I did, and like he kind of like pushed him to want to be a hype man as well. And
Mm-hmm.
it was cool to hear that. I think for me, the number one rule if you're being an MC is read the room, understand the crowd,
Mm-hmm.
and that is a very vague thing to say, but basically what I mean is kind of like don't like if it's early in the night,
Mm-hmm.
you do not need to go on that, super loud, you know, overly high energy vibe. Keep it mellow, welcome people in, understand the vibe. Once it reaches 11, 12, go with the tempo of the DJ. If the DJ is playing R&B, there's no need for too much loud, getting too
Right.
loud and being that kind of stuff. And that's one. The second thing I think is just give your best. Like be authentic, be yourself. Try not to copy others. I didn't copy anyone. I think I would actually say that I would boldly say that I was the one who kind of like forced our little entertainment industry to kind of like accept MCs as part of a lineup, or kind of like give people who are on the mic a legit platform and make it like a paid profitable thing.
That's huge. That's
Especially,
huge.
yeah, I can definitely say that I take credit for that. Because I've seen there's other MCs coming out, and it's good to see that other people are trying to get involved. But staying original is super important. You have to have something that people will, see as authentic. You know,
Right.
what I do basically. So like for songs like I'm a piano, like I have things that I kind of like think of what to say. Like I have things written down in my notes that I say that I repeat. Kind of like in pidgin in Nigerian language, it's called lamba. It's like
Mm-hmm.
slang or like stuff that people who know Afro beats would kind of understand. So I kind
Mm.
of create my own, but that's for like hyping clubs and stuff. But like as an MC in general, just finding a way to stand out is the most important thing. Whether it's with your voice, whether it's with your delivery.
Right.
For me, I try to incorporate dance into my performance. So that's one way that I already stand out, because I
Right.
haven't seen any other MC that, dances or brings that energetic side.
Right.
So I
Right.
used energy to kind of like also incorporate that into my performance.
All right. Because emceeing and dance are two separate art
Two
forms.
different things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
man, that's really beautiful to hear, and I'm glad that you've found your niche. You've created a lane for yourself and others to kind of like get paid in a way. Because God blesses those who open doors for others. So at the end of the day, like it's only gonna get better. It's only gonna get bigger, and I hope you stay in your lane and you keep growing, bro. Because at the end of the day, bro, you are energy. I was gonna challenge you actually. This one I just want you to sleep on it. My challenge would be, I'm not sure why you stick to Afrobeats, if that's a brand thing or if that's like a personal preference thing, or when you go to cities that don't necessarily have Afrobeats, like I'm curious how you handle that, because like you're predominantly in the Afrobeats industry or the Afrobeats genre, but like when you go to a city like Nanaimo or like one of these smaller towns, some of these folks don't really know Afrobeats like that. So it's like, how do you switch it up?
So basically, previously I was basically only kind of doing Afrobeats events, but that was like a long time ago. I do all sorts of events. Actually,
Got you.
in Vancouver, the main major ones that I'm most likely getting booked for are the Afrobeats parties. So those are the ones that are probably the most common or the most frequent. When I go to places like Nanaimo or Victoria, I have an event that I actually run at a club in Nanaimo called Island Vibe. It's like
Mm-hmm.
the genres are played top 40 house music and a little bit of progressive EDM. So
Got you.
I actually can MC for those kind of events too, and I enjoy that. I actually came up with the idea of having those genres as the major part of the night. So I work with one DJ once a month in Nanaimo and have a different kind of perspective on the music. One time we did a disco night that was like throwback
Lovely.
music. So
Lovely.
I'm trying to kind of like not get away from the Afrobeats because it's all be there. It will always be there. But I'm trying to like transition into doing other styles of events and genres because I'm extremely versatile.
Right.
I can MC for a full black crowd. I can MC for a full white crowd. Like I'm able to do that because I know that at the end of the day, I have the experience, I have the charisma, I have the vibe, and I have the energy. So if I know that for sure, day, right? It's not always gonna be Afrobeat, so that's why I tried other things in other cities. But over here, it's mainly Afrobeats. But out of town, it's almost never Afrobeats,
Yeah, but I'm glad
except in
that you've
Calgary.
kind of. Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, because you said that's your favorite city. I'm glad
Yeah.
that you've kind of expanded your range and you're trying to accommodate everyone. Because at the end of the day, if you're an entertainer, you don't entertain one particular group. You're an entertainer, so you entertain a lot of
Yes,
people. So
exactly. And you have to find a way that goes with everything. You have to find a way to kind of like harness that talent to fit
hmm
different crowds. That's what versatility is all about. You know,
right,
being able to juggle multiple things at the same time.
yeah.
Yeah, man.
When you think about the quality of relationships in the industry, right? Like the industry is very there's a lot of drinking, there's a lot of partying, there's a lot of different people trying
Toxic.
different things, right? How would you summarize the quality of relationships over time being in this industry for so long? What are some of the things that you've learned about industry relationships?
Is it
It's a safe
about
space.
my? Yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm willing to share as much as I can. Like, is it about my relationship with other people in the industry, or just how relationships are in the industry, like people relating?
Your working relationship with other people in the industry, because if you're doing events, you're doing this all these other
Okay.
things. Yeah, I want to know a little bit more about that.
I'll just be very blunt and very honest. I think at the end of the day, everyone. Yeah, I'm being for real. Everyone in the entertainment industry, everyone has a goal. There's some people who are in it literally just for profit. There's some people who are in it to entertain people. There are people who are in it to, for clout. There's some people who are, there's everyone has a perceived goal. Initially, my relationship with people in the industry was always, I used to be extremely kind of like, I was like cool with everyone, that happy go lucky vibe, giving everyone that same. Now I have to protect my energy a little bit more to prevent exploitation, because at the end of the day,
Right.
not everyone's gonna. The only person that's gonna look out for you is you.
Is you.
It looks all good when the parties are popping and everyone's having a good time, but there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. There's a lot of people who might not want to see you in a particular position. Other people who
hmm
might be talent MCs, DJs, or whatever, who might not want. So you always have to look out for yourself first and basically protect your energy. But I would say my working relationship with promoters and people are usually on a professional basis. I'm
mm
usually business first. I would say I used to be kind of like very like pro friendship friendly, but because of how the industry kind of like switches and changes all the time, right? You also have to
Right.
adapt. So I have more of a business approach to
Mm.
things, and business first, friendship later. Because at the end of the day, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money. And if it
Yes,
doesn't involve
sir.
money, it doesn't involve me. So people who know me know that, and that's why at the end of the day, even people who don't like me still book me. So that's the truth.
Hey, listen,
I
talk
don't,
your shit. Talk your shit. I love it. I love it. I love it. I
I
love
had to be
it.
honest there, man. That was a good question for
Yeah.
real, because
Yes,
a lot of
sir,
people
Ski.
see, the industry and think it's like all well and good, but after I've been kind of in it in for like I would say like 7 to 8 years now, because I started promoting in 2017. Um, but MC, so now I would say, yeah, it's been around that 7 to 8 year time. So transitioning from a promoter who was just putting people on guest lists, rushing people from SFE to come down to Fortune, kind of
Right.
being exploited a little, not really given a chance to MC, kind of fighting for a way to kind of like I was MCing for free for some people for free entry and Sprite at one point. Like it was just all passion. And then once I was able to monetize it, you know,
Yeah,
you have to
even
have a
the
little bit of it.
yeah, the quality, the relationships change because once the money is
Yeah,
involved.
you'll be surprised how people can behave, but at the end of the day, right, you just kind of like know that it's business first, and you're trying to keep emotions, you know, on the back burner. It's a pretty ruthless, like it's not made for everyone. It's a pretty ruthless business, I would say.
All right, my boy. What's next for
Yes,
Osita?
sir.
What you got going on in terms of your projects coming up? What exciting things are you looking forward to in the summer?
So summer, so okay, before summer actually, in May I am gonna be going on a little bit of an event tour with
Hmm.
an Afro R&B party. The details will be out pretty soon. They've already done
Hey,
events in
he
Vancouver.
dropping the exclusive on this bitch. Stop playing with me, man.
So it's called, yeah, so the event is called Love Me Jeje. It's an Afro R&B experience. 50% Afro beats and 50% R&B nights, and it's going to be done in 13 different cities. I'm not going to be in every city, because that's money, to the flights and everything, but I'm going to be involved in most of the dates. I believe Vancouver, Kamloops, Tin, I believe Victoria and Nanaimo. So that's six,
That's a good.
seven
That's almost
dates.
half the tour.
Yeah, that's almost half the tour. Yeah, I'm going to try and make as much as possible, because my goal is to be able to perform in different cities now. So I was able to do this through my friend who's a promoter in Calgary. He's the one that is this is his event, and I'm kind of like basically hosting it for him in different cities. Then in the summer, hopefully in July, I'm working on announcing my own MC tour in hopefully 5 different cities, 6 different cities. I did a little bit of a tour in 2023, July of 2023.
Nice.
I did about 4 different cities multiple times, but this time around I wanted to be a little bit bigger. I have a bit more of a name now, so
Very.
I'm trying to work with different promoters in different cities who would want to have me host their events. Then we can come to an agreement and then announce the tour dates.
Let's
Yeah,
get it.
other than that, man, I'm still gonna be doing shows in Vancouver. I believe there's gonna be some concerts that I can't say right now in the near future.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm super
Congrats,
grateful
bro.
for where I
Congrats on
am.
that. Congrats on that tour that's coming up. Congrats on the Love Me JJ tour that's upcoming as well.
Yes, sir.
Keep shining. As you look back onto your journey, what word do you think encompasses the totality of how you started to where you're at today? It all boils down to what for Osita?
It all boils down to energy. And the reason why I say energy is because I've performed in so many different event spaces, Vogue Theatre, Rogers Arena, BC Place Stadium, multiple clubs in the city, Commodore Ballroom. But I would never have done that if I wasn't able to do it on smaller stages, in house parties, SFU, small scale events, things like that. So it's all about keeping that consistent energy, and I think that's what people know me for. I think that's a word that's synonymous with Osita David as a brand and Osita David as a person. And
Mm,
I think the energy that I've had to also kind of persevere through like barriers of people trying to tell me, oh, you won't be up to par on the mic, or you're too hyperactive. Because one of the reasons why I also became a hype man was because in school, when I used to be in elementary school, primary school, like my behavioral reports, sometimes they would write, "Oh, he's hyperactive in class." So that word always stuck with me. Can't sit still in class. Hyperactive, hyper.
Mm,
I was a hyper kid. I was always like,
mm.
always jumping.
Yeah, trying to do
Yeah,
something.
yeah. I was always, yeah. So I turned the label that I was given as, from teachers who knew little of me, and I turned it into a little bit of a brand, hype man. I just took the
That is
R off
crazy.
and put man.
That is
Yes,
crazy.
sir.
That is actually diabolical. Like talk about turning a criticism to a strength. Like that is
Yeah, man.
literally beautiful, bro.
I turned the hate into great. You
Yes,
understand me?
sir. Yes, sir. And at the end of the day, you can't teach energy, man. You call me hyper all
Yes,
you
sir.
want, but at the end of the day, it's like it has made your brand. That is actually so beautiful, bro. I'm glad you didn't let those words put you down, rather than, because sometimes what we're told as kids, we internalize that and we take it all the way to our adulthood. Some people can't do
100%, man.
yeah.
100%.
Some people can't do shit because of what they were told as kids. So for you to flip
Yes.
that and actually make it something that you're making a living for yourself, bro, it's very commendable. And I can't give you enough flowers, bro. So
Thanks, man. Thanks, man.
I'm
I appreciate
super
the
happy.
words.
I'm super happy. I'm super happy you came through. Where can the listeners find you on socials?
Yeah, man. So you can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is Osita David, OSITA DAVID, X at Osita Dave, and those pretty much it for me in terms of socials. I don't have TikTok. I don't. Yeah, I know it's weird, right? Yeah. I don't have it. I don't use TikTok. I don't. I think it's a waste of time.
I, I
People see me and they automatically think that I should be on TikTok, but I'm not.
what?
Your reaction is crazy.
Bro, listen, you're signing off for TikTok tonight. I don't care what nobody says. And you're gonna upload all the videos you did from 2019. Cause bro, that
I know people tell me I could have been. Yeah, if you started on TikTok during the pandemic, you know how big you would be. Like I've heard that many times. I didn't want to do it. Literally, one of the reasons why is because everyone was doing it, and it's like it just wasn't for me. I just actually it was for me, but I just wasn't interested. It's something that
I
would have
see.
probably helped me grow, and I don't regret it. I don't
You're
have
right.
it. I don't. I Instagram is good enough. I mean, you can watch short videos on Instagram now. Reels is there. You can even watch Reels on Twitter and YouTube now. So I don't need
Right.
another app to waste my time. But
Hey,
yeah,
listen, time
that's
is the
me.
only time is the only currency that we can't really buy.
That's true, man.
It is what it is. Osita, thank you so much. Appreciate you, my bro. Peace and love, bro.